Audible nonsense. Hello, I'm HG Tudor. One of the interesting things about narcissism and psychopathy is that there aren't so many aspects to those subjects to share and convey with you. As you know, I'm a diagnosed narcissistic psychopath, and therefore, as a consequence of my higher executive function, I have a particular understanding of myself. There'll be many of you who have perhaps not embraced more of the background about how I come to know what I know, but you'll find more about that on my blog and through the many videos that you'll find here. There are thousands which deal with me, my kind, the way that we function, the way that we manipulate. This has enabled me to explain so much about why the narcissist treats you in the way that they do. Narcissism is far more prevalent than people realize, and it's many an occasion that once I've consulted with somebody and assisted them in making them able to understand what they've dealt with and equip them with the tools to move away from those problems and recover, that they see that they've been involved with narcissists in many different facets of their lives. And they often comment that once they understand the subject, aided by the excellence of my work, it is like being given a set of keys to understanding life itself. This is why the subject is so important. It isn't just about the ridiculous behaviours of Jada Pinkett Smith, or of course the ongoing train wreck that is this one's wife. But it is so important because it helps you understand why the world is as it is, and why the world has been in the way that it has been. Narcissism invariably shapes the attitudes and behaviours of those who lead nations, who lead corporations, those who are at the top of organisations, of sporting bodies, of regulatory bodies, involved in law enforcement. By understanding narcissism and psychopathy, this enables you to understand why those decisions have been made, why people just can't get along, why country goes against country, why somebody engages in a ridiculous meltdown and feels the need to post it to social media. So much about human behaviour becomes far more understandable, and that's why my videos, entertaining as they may be in laughing, for instance, at the behaviours of this one's wife, go much, much deeper. This material saves lives. It saves livelihoods. This material ought to be conveyed to school children in an appropriate form so that they are able to understand why people behave. There's no need for trigger warnings or safe spaces. In fact, it will enable them to understand the use of clear evidence that feelings are not facts, and that so much of the world around them can be governed by narcissists, but this will equip them with the tools to spot that and make evidence-based decisions to protect themselves. I mention all of this because I want you to understand the efficacy and importance of my work. I'm an army of one, with a little bit of help from a videographer and a graphic designer. But it is me that writes the material, it is me that records the material, it is me that does the ad hoc videos, that answers the queries, that reviews the comments. But there are millions of you. And the more that you share this work, the more that other people will be reached. And it may just be the case that one of the major players comes along and thinks, this material ought to be given the appropriate marketing muscle so that it is brought to far more people. Far more important than the nonsense that this one's wife spouts. Because, once again, I'm given an opportunity to demonstrate to you her magical thinking, and also to throw into stark contrast for you the importance of my work compared to what she thinks is important and what she believes that she is entitled to. This time it's a supine publication, Marie Claire, with an article that tells us this one's wife is reportedly thrilled to be on the cusp of inking a major new deal. Oh yes, another new deal apparently coming along, except it probably isn't. This demonstrates just how desperate she is to get these deals, and moreover, how she truly believes that by keep talking about her brilliance, someone is going to recognise it. There's a major problem with that. She is not brilliant. She has no ideas, she has no imagination, no sense of humour, she has no pithy wit, she has no mind-blowing observations to make about the world, although she thinks she does. After parting ways, writes Rachel Birchfield, with Spotify earlier this year, it appears that this one's wife is on the verge of landing her next major deal, and it could be with one of Spotify's biggest competitors. In June, this one's wife and husband, Prince Harry, ended their multi-million-dollar deal with Spotify, a deal brokered in 2020 to produce programming that uplifts and entertains audiences around the world. Well, that singularly failed, didn't it? I don't think anybody was uplifted by it and entertained, only with regard how ridiculous it was. A statement explained that Spotify and Archwell Audio, Harry and this one's wife's company, have mutually agreed to part ways and are proud of the series we made together. We all know that that was just spiel to cover up the fact that they'd been sacked. That series was Archetypes, a 12-episode podcast hosted by this one's wife that saw her sit down with artists, athletes and experts, after they'd been interviewed by staff and the heavy lifting had been done by other people, discuss the history of stereotypes against women. Now it seems this one's wife, and maybe Archetypes, has a new deal being flushed out with Audible, a competitor of Spotify's that is owned by Amazon. Word of mouth is spreading, i.e., the agency is trying to make it happen by talking about it, that it will lead to a huge payout, even bigger than the millions Spotify splashed out. And this one's wife is thrilled that she'll be in the company of Michelle and Barack Obama, who signed a multi-year contract with Audible last year, a source said per The Mirror. Now let's pause there. You are the decision-making individual at Audible. You are the one that looks to recruit talent. There are lots of people creating fascinating material, engaging work, and thus plenty of people to pick from. Or you could choose somebody who's only known for the man that she's married, somebody whose track record reads lazy, couldn't be asked to pump anything out other than a self-indulgent, boring beige series that was canned after one series. Spotify admits, through its chief executive, that it made some mistakes with regard to the hiring of talent, in inverted commas. But Spotify is a huge business. It has millions of subscribers, so it kind of knows what it's doing. Do you think Audible will look at its competitor and say, so you got rid of this woman who has nothing meaningful to say, who's entirely beige, whose only claim to fame is the man that she married, that people are only interested in hearing what she's got to say about the royal family, but she's done that to such an extent it's now become boring, that her own life is completely uninteresting, that she's known for telling lies and revising history, that she's known for not exactly being industrious, that she was called a fucking grifter by this organisation. Do you know what? Let's sign her up and spend even more money on her than Spotify did. It is absolute horse shit. No sane executive would go near this woman because they can see not only does she have no talent, but she's toxic and problematic. She wants the money without the effort, and she annoys people, not only within organisations, but the audience at large. Why, oh why would any organisation that is credibly run with sane individuals decide, we've seen somebody else fuck it up, and basically lose millions on a series that was a load of pants, why don't we do the same but spend even more? Now, of course, there may be some arrogant individuals who believe that they can do it better. But if you've got an ounce of nous, you would look at this product, her, and decide, nah, there's nothing to work with here. It's not the case that she's, let's take for example a footballer. There's a footballer who's got identifiable talent, scores lots of goals, but is a bit of a prima donna, and he had a falling out with a previous manager. Another manager might think, I know he's a really good footballer, they mismanaged him, I believe I can manage him properly and get the best out of him. In that instance, you may well take a punt, because you know the individual can deliver the goods. But when it comes to this one's wife, you know that she doesn't. Not only is her output pathetic in terms of actually how long it takes her to do anything, but once it's received, you receive a complete damp squib. And therefore, this article is just another attempt by this one's wife through her magical thinking to make it so just by talking about it. It continues to wank on by telling us this one's wife, who they said seems very confident at the moment in the potential deal, knows her deal with Audible could be make or break for her Hollywood dream. They said, she feels ready, but that doesn't mean this isn't seriously daunting. They added, the stakes are extremely high. Marie Claire reported on the potential move to Audible a couple of weeks ago, and she is in no doubt being assisted on the deal by William Morris Endeavour. You don't say. The talent agency she signed with in April. Whether any potential move to Audible will mean the resurgence of archetypes or brand new content is unclear. But we're excited for this one's wife to have a return to this space, if true. And notice, right at the end of the article, there it is, if true. Because it isn't. Because it isn't going to happen. But this one's wife believes that it should happen. That this one's wife somehow believes that she can cause it to manifest. Once again, the sense of entitlement that she has is huge, and this time it is manifesting through her magical thinking, whereby she believes that notwithstanding all the evidence pointing to the contrary that this should happen, that she believes that it should do and it ought to. Once again, another opportunity for you to understand how her narcissism functions. You might stand there and wonder, how on earth can she possibly believe, after that rubbish that she pumped out for archetypes, that Audible would sign her up? Well, as a consequence of my work, you are able to understand why she maintains this deluded belief that she can succeed. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.